Hi everyone, Slangel here with Slangel Designs, and back with part 2 in the series of the crochet along for the alphabet blanket. Now, you may not notice the difference, but I did redo the first section that we had already done in a little bit lighter gray color. After talking to my friend, I figured, oh shoot, I think I'm doing it in too darker color for what she's going to be doing her baby's room in. So I thought I would just redo what I had done because I had the right color that I thought. So as you can see, in my tracker, I've got 2 sets of check marks because we had done the first section with the dark gray, and then this is where I did it with the light one. So we're going to be picking up on row 11. So don't forget to have your chart, which has your tracker, and we'll get right into it. If you are seeing this video before you saw the first one, I'll put the link to the first video in the description box, because it goes over like the materials and like the crochet hook and everything like that, and where you can find the pattern. Okay, and again, the pattern and the tracker and everything with the chart is available on the website for free as a PDF download. So, and I'll just say again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section. And I do apologize for this one being so far apart from the first one, but health scare, computer issues, had to change the color, life, you know. So anyway, everything's good. We're gonna get back on track. So let's see how far we can get today. And I may not have the overlay on the video, just with telling you what to do for each row, overlaying the video, because that takes, I don't want to hold the videos up anymore. So for this one, at least, it may not have the overlay, so I do apologize for that. It's just I don't want to hold up the video for you guys anymore. So anyway, we're going to get into row 11. And so row 11, where we left off, we're going to turn our work, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in that first stitch and in each stitch across. So all the odd numbers are always just the single crochet across. So this yarn looks and feels so much better. It's a different brand. This is I'm using the 1 pound where's the label? 1 second, I'll tell you. There we go. I switched off to the Lion brand, 1 pound of love, and I'm doing this in Oxford gray. So I have 2 balls of this, which I may have to get a third because the first one I started with, that's why I couldn't quite remember, because the label's not on it. When I had finished another project, I had part of one left, so I may have to grab another one to have enough to finish. But I'll see. I'm going to wait until I get towards the end of the other ball and see if I'm going to have enough. If I have enough, great. If not, I'll just have to grab another one. And luckily, this is a color that I use quite a bit, so if I end up having to get another ball and have some left over, not going to be a problem. We can never have too much yarn. I'm just putting that out there. You never can. So if you want to put me on pause, so we're working on row 11, put me on pause and finish doing your single crochet across, and we'll meet back here and we'll get on to row 12. Be right back. Okay, so I reached the end of the row. So don't forget, when you have your tracker, just so you can keep track in case you have to step away from your work, you know where you're at. So that was just a row 11, single crochet across. So now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to start row 12 here. Let me just get some more yarn unraveled from the ball here. So we're still working on the XYZ letters. So let me just get, now I got myself all tangled. Okay. All right, here we go. So the first block is just going to be straight single crochet until you get to the divider row. So what we're going to do is chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in that first stitch and each one across here until we get to the divider of puff stitches or popcorn stitches. So if you are working along with the videos, and when you're all done, I'd love to be able to see what colors you chose and how it turned out. I always like seeing people's projects when they're done. So you can always post it on, I still call it Twitter, and tag TPC Slangile. So that's just TPC SLANGILLE. So I can see your work. All right, so we're coming up to the puff stitch. So that's one good thing. Once you get so many rows in, you have landmarks. So you know, sometimes you don't necessarily have to count anymore because you are good with the visuals as to where you need to be. So I can see here, this is where our row of puff stitches was in the previous rows. So I know here's where I have to put my puff stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, put my hook in, yarn over and pull up, and we're going to do that 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through all but 1. So we still have the 2 on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through both. Then we're still working on the letter Z. So we're going to work our way over, and when you look at your chart, you know that you're not going to go directly above, you're going to go to the one just to the right of the previous row. So we're going to single crochet over until we get to that area. And again, I will put the link to the single crochet tutorial in the description box in case anybody needs a refresher or you're new. Because really this is somewhat of a beginner because there's not too many complicated stitches like at all. All right, we're all knotted up here. How did I manage that? Oh, I got it good and knotted. Okay. See? Can happen to the best of us. There we go. All right, so we're getting closer to where we need to be. So I'm just going to kind of slow it down. And I know I'm going to be going into this one here. So single crochet that one. Now we're going to go into the next one with our puff stitch or popcorn. So that's yarn over, put the hook in, drop your loop 4 times. Then yarn over, pull through all but the last one. Then yarn over and pull through the 2 that you got left on your hook. And then we're going to work our way over with single crochets to the next divider area. Because each letter ends up being inside a square of puff stitches, just to kind of delineate. So you can see there how our letter Z slowly starting to take shape. I like this yarn, but I don't like how it comes off the ball. And there's too much of it to wind it up into. All right, so here we go. So we're at the divider line. We're going to put another puff stitch or popcorn stitch, whichever you prefer, right above it. And then we're going to keep going. So for the letter Y, before we start making the shape of the Y, we have to do, there's 2 more little puffs. So we're going to work our way over to that one. Again, following the chart, but like I said, once you have so many rows done, you kind of have a landmark and you can see on the chart how the letter is going to go. Sometimes you do have to take a little moment and count some of the stitches between when you start making like certain shapes of the letter. But for now, this is pretty straightforward going. So I know I'm at the next, I have to go directly above. So again, that's yarn over, put your hook in, yarn over, pull up your loop 4 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, then yarn over, pull through all of it but the last one, and then yarn over and pull through all 2. This yarn, okay. All right, so now we're going to do single crochets. And again, when you go to do your first single crochet after your puff stitch, you want to make sure that you're getting, when you're pulling it, that the puff stitch is coming towards the front so it stays kind of nice and poked out on the front of your work. So again, single crochets across to the divider. All right, so there we're at the next divider. So again, we're going to do a puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So now for the X, what we're going to be doing, we have one more set of 2, but we're going to come in, instead of doing it directly above, we're moving this one over to the left one, and then this one here is going to be just to the right of the previous ones. You'll see once we get there. So single crochet, making sure that puff stitch comes to the front. You can see too, like once you get the hang of the puff stitches and you've got, it's a little slower at certain parts of it because like when you're working here until you get the couple of rows of the letters done, then you have your landmarks. It's easy to finish the letter. Then when you get to the next section, you have to kind of keep track of where you're at so that you get the next set of letters started. But once you get them started, you can pick up pace a little bit. So, all right. So I did a single crochet in the one above it. Now the one next to it, I'm going to do a puff stitch. Then I'm going to put a single crochet, and then in the very next one we're putting another puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to single crochet over to the next border area. So I know I'm going a little faster with the single crochets, but hopefully at this point you don't need it to be slowed down. Cat hair is always free in this house. Okay. I try not to let the cats in here, but you can't exactly tell cats what to do. All right. So now we're going to do our puff stitch in the next one. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we're going to single crochet because there's no letter in the lower corners or the upper corners. We're going to just do a single crochet across until we get to the end. So I also have some other projects on the go that we'll be looking at on here. One of them is a fairly big knitting project. I'm working on a sweater. It's a Farrell sweater, which is a little more complicated. And it might end up being, if this one turns out as well as I'm hoping it's going to, it may end up being a knit along video. But it's a little more, oh, I split my yarn, a little more advanced. currently making a sweater for my mother, and if all goes well, I might be making another one for a gift. All right, so we're coming up to the end here. There's our last one for this row. So what we're going to do is chain one. Oh, first what we're going to do is mark it off on our tracker sheet. So that was row 12. So row 13 is just going to be a straightforward single crochet across. So what I'm going to do is chain one, turn my work, single crochet in that first stitch, and in each one across. So since this part is pretty straightforward, if you want to put me on pause and do your single crochets across and meet me at the end, then we'll move over into row 14 after that. So press pause and then hit play whenever you're ready. Right back. Okay, so I just finished row 13, so I'm going to mark that off, and we're going to move on to row 14. So we're going to turn our work. We're going to chain one, and again, because this first section doesn't have a letter in it, we're just going to straight old single crochet across to the next dividing line of puff stitches. So again, nothing too complicated in this pattern. It ends up looking super pretty. And what's cool about the letter chart is if you wanted to, and I have done this in the past, if you know how big you want a blanket to be, like say you want to make a throw for on a couch or something like that, you know the size of the squares, you could very easily decide and do like the sections of the squares and spell like say family and hope and love. Like you can use the same letter chart to make whatever you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be just this baby blanket. And make it almost look like a Scrabble board where one letter from one word going like horizontal is involved in a letter that goes vertical. It ends up looking really nice. All right, so we're coming up to the dividing line. So again, directly above the previous one, we're going to put a puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through everything but the last one, then yarn over, pull through the 2 that's on your hook. So for the letter Z, or Z, however you like to say it, we're still working on the section that goes up before we go across. So we're going to go into the one not directly above it, but just to the right of it. So again, using our landmarks, we're going to single crochet across. Until we get to where we need to be, which just takes a moment. All right, here we go. So not the one directly above, just this one here right to the right of it, we're going to put a puff stitch in. 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over through all but the last one, then yarn over through all but 2. So now again, when you go to do your single crochet after your puff stitch, don't forget to make sure that you get that yarn pulled kind of snug in behind it so it makes that pop to the front. And then we're going to single crochet to the next dividing line. I've used the letter chart to make a family blanket that had like everybody's names on it with the word family in the middle. It turned out nice. All right, so immediately above the one from below, a puff stitch for the dividing line. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, when we look at the letter Y, there are should be one more before we start doing the V part of the Y. So we're gonna single crochet over to that section to get where we need to be. So immediately above the ones below, we're going to do another puff. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to single crochet across to the next dividing line. Oops. So one thing I've been noticing online, we don't have, where I'm from, we don't have like the access to the Premier yarns, and we don't have like Hobby Lobby or the Joann stuff. The main store here is Michael's or Walmart for yarn, unless you want to order online. And even with the sales, the shipping, and that's ridiculous. So right now, okay, so we're at the dividing line. We're going to put a puff stitch immediately above it. So I love seeing some of the yarns people are getting in other videos and YouTube people that I follow. And some of them just look so nice. The new ombres. Oh, the possibilities for things you're going to make with those, outstanding. It may be worthwhile to order some stuff. All right, so for the letter X, we're going to crochet, single crochet across, and now we're at that middle part of the X before you start dividing, going up with the X part. So you can kind of see visually when you're looking at your previous rows, we're going to be putting a puff stitch right in the middle before we start coming out with the X part. So we're going to single crochet across, until we get to there. All right, a couple more. All right, so there we go. So in this one here, we're going to do our puff stitch. One, oh, I'm all, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And then we're going to single crochet across to the next dividing line. Oop. All right, here we go. So you can see too, now that the letters and everything are starting to come to shape, why I recommend a solid color as opposed to like a variegated, just so the puff stitches pop out a little bit better and are more easily visible. All right, we're at the dividing line, so another puff stitch immediately above the one from below. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to single crochet to the end of the row. I keep wanting to say round because what I'm currently doing with the sweater is knitting in the round, and so I'm keeping track of rounds. So sometimes when you're flip-flopping between projects, sometimes your terminology gets a little wonky. If you can hear that scratching, that's the cat looking to get into the room. I have the door shut, so I apologize if you can hear that. She always has to be where the action is. All right. So we're coming to the end of the row. So when we get to the end here, we're going to do our chain 1, turn our work, and the next row is just going to be single crocheting all the way across. So when you get to your end here, get your last stitch in there, mark off on your tracker sheet. I'm going to keep drilling this into your head so that you don't lose track where you're at. Mark off on your tracker sheet. Do your chain 1. Turn your work. Single crochet in that first stitch again, and then each stitch across. So if you want to put me on pause and then keep working your single crochets across, and meet me, press play when you get to the end, and we will start up with row number 16, and we'll work on the rest, some more of the letter. So press pause, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just finished row 15, mark that off. We're going to move on to row 16. So hopefully you got your tracker and you're keeping track. So again, we're going to return our work. We're going to chain 1, single crochet in that first one, and each one across for, because again, we're still working on that blank corner square. But you can kind of see how it comes together. And don't worry about if it curls a little bit, because once you get that border on at the end, that'll take care of that. All right. So again, if you have any questions or comments about what we've been working on so far, please feel free to put them in the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as possible, and give you a hand if you need any help. But hopefully you're not finding this too difficult if you're working along with us. And something I was thinking of too is as we get a little further along in some of the areas that like, you know how you're working up to a letter or past a letter, maybe just going live and doing that and having the bod, but then there wouldn't necessarily be, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you want it just to be kept going on the videos the way they are, or if we did a little live thing sometime and worked on it? All right, we're to the divider line. So again, a puff stitch directly above the one we did below. 1, 2, 3, 4. I find I have so many ideas of things I want to do. It's to find the time to do them. And sometimes the things I want to do would take a fair bit of time. So I have to kind of prioritize and pick and choose what projects and that we're going to work on. So after we did our puff stitch, kind of all over the place here, sorry. We're single crocheting across. We're still working on that upward angle of the letter Z. So we're going to put, not directly above, but to the first one to the right of it, we're going to put our puff stitch in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that puff. I could feel a piece of the yarn caught in the middle, and it wasn't going to be a nice smooth one. Sometimes you can tell. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why it's important to try to have your loops the same length. There we go. That was a nice smooth puff stitch there. All right, so we're going to single crochet across to the next divider. So yeah, lots of projects and lots of ideas and lots of interesting things coming up. Sometimes life throws a curveball here and there though, but I will try to be as consistent as possible with the videos going forward. All right, we're coming up to the next divider line. So again, I sound like a broken record, but a puff stitch immediately above the one from below. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, the yarn is splitting and I can feel it catching. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now, for the letter Y, we have finished the lower part, okay? So we finished the stick of the Y. Now we need to start doing the V part of the Y. So instead of going directly above, we're going to start putting by one just to the right of it and one to the left of it. One in each one of these. So we're going to work our way across with our single crochets. And then when we get, so again, we're not going directly above, we're going to put one just to the right of our stick. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to put a single crochet in the next one. And then we're going to go right back in with another puff stitch to do that left side of the Y part. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to single crochet to the divider line. So you can see how that's going to start making the Y, because we're going to go a little further out on each side as we go up. All right, we're coming up to the divider. And again, immediately above the one from below, a puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know why, but when the yarn pulls through on that puff stitch nice and smooth, it's really satisfying. All right, so now for the X. Pretty much the same idea as the Y, except, and the reverse of what you did in the bottom part of the X. So we're going to do what we did with the Y. We're not going to put one immediately above. We're going to go one to the right and one to the left and start working that X out. So just the reverse of basically of what we did here. All right. Working our way across. We're getting there. All right, so now in this one we're going to put our puff stitch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. A single crochet in the next one, and a puff stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to single crochet to the divider. All right, and then immediately above, directly above the one from below, you're going to put that puff stitch in there again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then single crochet to the end of the row. And again, there's no letter in this bottom corner one, so it's just straight old single crochet. Once we get up into the next set of letters, there's going to be letters in each square. coming up to the end. And again, that curling, that will settle down once you get more done and get the border on especially. So don't panic about that. That's not uncommon. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just the way the yarn and the fabric, when you're making it, just wants to naturally do. Which is part of the reason why when you finish some projects and that, you have to block it so that it will hold the shape. All right, finish that row. I'm gonna mark off row 16 on my pattern tracker. I'm gonna chain 1, turn my work, and we're gonna single crochet in that first stitch like we always do, because the chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. And I'm gonna single crochet in each stitch across. So if you want to put me on pause and meet me back here at the end of your row, we'll pick up where we're after the end of row 17. Be right back. Okay, so I just finished doing my single crochets all across the row 17. Finished off at the end there. So you can see how our Z's coming together, and our Y and the X. And you've got that nice dividing row of puff stitches. So I think what we're going to do is just stop this one here, because in the next one we're going to actually get all the way up to the next section. We're going to get up to, we're going to finish off the letter and up to at least row 28. I'm going to show you how to do that, and maybe a row or two after that. Because once we get going, especially after like row 28, there's like kind of a section where it's just the straightforward single crochet in your divider row until there's a section that's fairly straightforward until you get to where the letters start. So I think what we're going to end up doing is getting up and getting that section done with the divider horizontal row, not the vertical ones. You get that done, and then I'll get you to do, while we're paused, we'll do that section. And then when you hit play, it'll be into the letters. So we're going to, just because it's fairly straightforward, so we're going to kind of like abbreviate some of the rows, just so that the videos aren't, you're not going to have multiple videos, and we'll get right more into the letters and stuff. And if you needed to go back to see how that other parts were done, you can just kind of review the first video for this section. Okay, so this will be the end. So we finish up to the end of row 17. So we'll pick up with row 18, and we're going to get a fair little bit done in the next one, and start working on hopefully the next set of letters. So hopefully this is all making sense to you, and your project's coming together nicely. Again, any questions, put them in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. And if you know anybody that might be interested in some of the videos we've been putting out, point them our way. So take care, happy crocheting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.